Welcome to Spirituality Through Meditation. And I'm not sure what to title this episode because it's not about any one specific thing so much as it is about maybe a lifestyle, an economic change, a lifestyle change. We have all been feeling the change in our consciousness, the change in the energy of this world. It's been helped to a large degree by the newer generations that have come out after the Generation X, which is my generation, which we're reaching middle age now. But the millennials, Generation Z, I think the Alpha generation, I'm not sure if that's the appropriate word for it. But these later generations are doing it right. And what do I mean by doing it right? Well, I think my generation, Generation X, was the last real generation that was sold on the idea that in order to sustain a living in this world, you have to have a job or a career. And that shackles you, for the most part, to a 9-to-5. Because unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or someone in a field of that sort, many of us that were in the field of the creative arts, theater, film, novels, we were still subject to the gatekeepers of this world. You know, you're not good enough, you're never going to succeed, blah, blah, blah. So I guess what I wanted to talk to you about briefly today is that whole economic shift, the whole idea of moving away from a job-based economy to a creator-based economy. And you're seeing it now on YouTube and other platforms where there are these people in their 20s and 30s, even teenagers in some cases, that are making 6- or 7-figure incomes. This is expendable income that these young people are making, that many of us were sold by our parents and the status quo that you can only sustain a living through doing, having a job or having a career. Well, that's not the case anymore. So a few months back, I relaunched my YouTube channel. It used to be Brian Higby, which nobody knew who I was. I have 32 novels available on Amazon. I have 3 feature films. I have 1 feature documentary, all streaming on major streaming services like Amazon and Tubi and Play Now Media and Cineverse and Thrills TV and all these different streaming services, but nobody still knows who I am. So then, for a number of years, I've been interested in spirituality, meditation, reconnecting to source, you know, the quantum field, if you want to call it that, the Akashic records, if you want to call it that, this ether, this internet for the mind, for consciousness, the original source. And so to that end, I decided to relaunch my YouTube channel, or rebrand it, whatever you want to call it, as Spirituality Through Meditation. And I've covered a few different topics that interested me. But one of the things I studied before I did this was I studied a lot of YouTubers who were very, very successful. And they always talk about find a niche. What is your niche? Find a kind of a global or universal problem. Solve that problem personally, and then show other people how to do it. Pretty simple, right? So my whole thing was I looked at myself and I said, so what skills do you have? And besides, you know, I'm a self-published author, like I said, over 32 novels. I've co-produced and directed over 3 feature films and dozens of short films. I've directed dozens of theater productions. So I think a lot of my talents lie in the do-it-yourself, DIY niche. And my skills, like I said, filmmaking, distribution, book writing and distribution, spirituality through meditation, which is something I've been studying for a while now. And what I came down to is this, that even with all the skill sets I have, really what I want to do more than anything else is approach every project that I do from a position of compassion or love. Then I want to filter it through my creativity, whether it's writing books or doing podcasts or doing YouTube, whether I'm doing a feature film. I want to channel that compassion, that love, and that understanding, that universal understanding through those projects. And then I want to be of service to mankind. Those are the three things. So love or compassion, filter through creativity, and be of service. So to that end, I've spent the last 6 or 7 weeks producing like over 35 spirituality through meditation videos. Some have been 15, 20-minute just music and visuals just to allow you to kind of detach for a little bit, to go into a meditative state. Some of the videos are more instructive in the approach of tapping into the source and the subconscious mind, and how to change your subconscious paradigm to change your personality, which will ultimately change your life. More recently, I've gotten into the practical mechanics of how that works, and I'll talk about that here in a little bit, but, my journey is, I'm trying to break away from that 9 to 5. I'm 49 years old, so I'm Generation X. I was born in 1974. I'll be 50 this year, 2024. So for me, and I'm still working a 9 to 5 job, like even with all these projects published and produced and online and available for people to access, I still am hammering it out in a 9 to 5 job, which I'm not happy with. So my one-person business focuses on what is the universal problem that we all face that I can maybe help solve. How have I done it in my life, and how can you do it in your life, right? So that's where my one-person business is kind of focused on at this point. And it's not just to make a living doing it, though, it is important. People will say, well, I don't want to make a living doing it or whatever. The truth is I do, because I want to devote 100% of my time outside of, caring for my family, caring for the world. And I really do want to help everybody. So I do want to sustain a living doing it. And I want to do it through these podcasts, through these YouTube channels. And the one thing I've noticed, which has been extremely important to me and changed my whole perspective, is my attitude. The attitude is a great starting out point for what we want to talk about. Attitude is key to perception. Attitude is literally the magic word here. So if you can adjust your attitude, and we will talk about how to do that in a second, but if you can adjust your attitude, you can do anything. You can literally have anything. So here's how this works. So if you approach the world from love and through creativity and being of service to the human race or all species, what you can do is this. So we know we all come from source, which is the base energy that's eternal. It's always existed. It always will exist. I believe it exists in the quantum realm. I believe it's non-charged. Our desire is what charges it when we extract energy from source. So here's how this would work. So when you contact source, and you do it through meditation, you do it through contemplation, you do it through visualization, you want to make sure that what you're contacting source about, the desire that you want, is of a need, not just a want. Why is that important? Because need is attached to spirituality. Want is attached to the material world of matter. And you don't want to worry about the material world of matter at this point. You want to focus on the bigger picture. You want to focus on the grander change in all of our consciousness. You want to expand that consciousness. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go into a contemplative state, close your eyes, shut off the world, start thinking about things you desire, things that you need, not just things that you want, but things that you need. Once you get that isolated, and don't branch out, just get it isolated to maybe one or two basic needs. Then go into a visualization state, and that is essentially in the same relaxed state. Start creating a storyboard for yourself. And a storyboard, for people that don't know, is basically a series of pictures laid out in a timeline of your life. You have a desire. You have to visualize that desire in your mind, because your mind, the language of the mind is with pictures, not with words. So you want to make sure you can get as detailed as you can with your images, your pictures, your storyboard. Once you get that created, then repeat over and over and over, at least twice a day, 20-minute sessions, lay down or sit in a chair comfortably, eyes closed, and continue to visualize. Visualize the storyboard of your end goal. Then go into a meditative state. Now, what I mean by a meditative state is meditation is where you return to source. It's where you extract all of the chaotic ideas in your head, and you're just returning to source. And source is a state of being that exists beyond thought, beyond ego, beyond constructs of the mind. It is pure knowing. It is truth. It is pure knowing. It's not trying to understand anything. It's not trying to create constructs for it. It's just pure knowing. And when you tap into pure knowing, you don't even have to say how you're going to get this desired goal, this need. You just put it into your subconscious mind through meditation, visualization, and contemplation. It will manifest itself in the material world. And this is how it works. Anything, any thought, any desire operates on a specific frequency, a specific vibrational frequency, because we are all vibrational frequencies. That's how we all operate. There's nothing actual physical in this world. This is not really a world of material. It's a world of ideas. Ideas make up everything in the molecular world. So why is this important? Because your specific need and desire has a specific frequency. Anything operating on a specific frequency will eventually hit a certain density in that frequency, which will be critical mass. When critical mass is hit, there's a spark of magnetism. That magnetism then begins to attract molecular atoms, protons, electrons, all of the matter that we know that make up who we are. What is a tree? What is a plant? What is a human? What is a dog? What is a cat? All of the molecular structures, the cells, everything that you have that make you up, that make anything in this material world start with an idea and a vibrational pattern. And that idea and that vibrational pattern then manifests itself through critical mass and magnetism, and that becomes part of the material world. So that is the practical nuts and bolts on how you create your reality. Now, what if you don't like who you are and you don't like your thoughts? Okay, well, where does that come from? That comes from a lifetime of not censoring your input. So you have the conscious mind that has its 5 sensors: taste, touch, smell, hearing, and seeing. Those are exclusive to the conscious mind. up until the age of about 6 or 7 years old, our conscious mind is completely open to the world around us. It's also dictated to a large degree by our genetic structure, which is given to us by the vibrational frequencies that our parents were operating on when they conceived us. So those frequencies hit critical mass, became the DNA, which became us. Then we were born, and we had genetic conditioning initially. Then when we are born and we start going to school, we start going to church, we start going, to all these places where we are then environmentally or socially conditioned. So up to the years of around 6 or 7, we are completely open to anything that we encounter in our lives. And that gets seeded. It filters through the conscious mind through these 5 sensors, and then it gets dropped into the subconscious where it's stored forever. That makes up our personality. Our personality makes up our actions. So if you're unhappy with who you are and where you are in your life, what do? You change the subconscious paradigm. You start contemplation. You start visualization. You start deep diving by meditation, 20 to 30 minutes a day, twice a day. You take the time. You make the time. I know it's busy. I know we all have lives. We all have families. But you have to take the time to close that door, lie down or sit in a comfortable chair and meditate. Put headphones on, listen to specific frequencies, tune into YouTube channels that have just music or not even music, nothing personal. It needs to be something where you can detach from the material world and just zone out for a little bit. That is where you need to get to with the contemplation, knowing what you want, or knowing what you need, I should say, having a desire, then visualizing that desire, then implanting it into the subconscious mind, and through critical mass, it will manifest itself in the material world. Now, this will work for the positive as well as the negative. So if you want to change your life for the better, do these exercises. Lay down or sit in a chair, detach yourself from reality, take some deep breaths, start zoning out. If you want to use a mantra, use a mantra. If you want to use vibrational frequencies, use vibrational frequencies. If you just want kind of a sterile, no sound at all, do it. Whatever works for you. Different people operate on different frequencies. So find what works for you, but detach from the material world. Get away from that ego for a little bit, because the ego just wants to construct. The ego isn't a bad thing if you can keep it in check. But the ego is subject to the 5 senses. And the 5 senses are subject to our DNA, which is subject to the original vibrational frequencies that our parents were operating on. So there's all kinds of prejudice initially starting out with this whole thing. And you have to take all that into consideration. But be patient, be kind to yourself. And remember, your whole motivation is not just to help yourself, but to help the world. And you have to start with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to take care of yourself. Because in order to be of service to the world and to express that level of compassion that you need to express, you have to first and foremost take care of yourself. Everything starts at home first. And then that energy of love and compassion that you start generating in yourself will then filter out. It'll be like a grid around you that when people come in contact with you, they will feel that change. They will feel that love. They will feel that alpha state of mindful compassion, and they will respond in kind. And that just filters throughout the entire universe. Everybody operating on that compassionate state. Everybody, dispelling this negative energy that's out there right now. So, things to think about, okay? I hope you have a great day, and thank you for listening.